Hey y'all, it's me, Dree. So I thought we'd do something a little different today. We're going to spill some tea on the person who is on your mind. So we're starting this message today with devotion reversed. Then we have wholeness reversed. And then comes surrender reversed. So devotion, this card asks us to look at where something meaningful may not be receiving the attention it actually needs. And wholeness reverse, well, this brings our attention to external forces and validation, and also the importance of being rooted within ourselves. And then the surrender reverse, this card asks us to look at where control may actually be creating resistance. So I'm getting there is something happening here around the collective and, I don't know, investment, influence, and control. Now let's get into this message. We're starting under this devotion reversed, and with the tarot, I have the 9 of coins, I have judgment reversed, and I have the lovers reversed. So starting with the 9 of coins, this is about rewards of your labor. So the collective has clearly been working towards something here. I'm getting this is an energy of independence, maturity, fulfillment, and really being able to stand inside something that y'all have been building for yourselves. And I think there is also a level of freedom that is attached to this card. This is a very self-sufficient. This is the singles card of the deck. So y'all may be reaching a point where you're starting to actually experience the benefit of the inner work that has already been done. I'm getting there may have been things y'all had to break away from to get to this place. There were things that didn't work along the way. There were things that didn't deliver the outcome y'all thought they would. There were structures or expectations that eventually had to come down. But somehow, through all of that, y'all came out of that standing in this 9 of coins. So I don't necessarily see the collective scrambling to create stability here. Y'all already have stability underneath your feet, right? And then we move to the judgment reverse. So this card says needing to step it up. So I'm getting now we have uncertainty around the collective. Something may feel unresolved. Y'all may not have complete clarity about something that is still sitting in your energy field. And I think this is where this 9 of coins actually becomes very important, because y'all don't appear to stop everything you're doing just because something feels unresolved. No. Y'all keep working. Y'all stay dedicated to your craft. Y'all continue showing up for yourselves. And I'm getting that in doing that, y'all also stay connected to your own internal signals. There is something about remaining connected to yourselves that helps y'all work through the uncertainty without allowing it to completely consume you. And eventually I'm getting something starts becoming clearer. There very well may be a personality clash involved here. There may also be an opportunity that y'all are beginning to recognize as lost now. So this judgment reverse, it doesn't necessarily feel like the collective is refusing to make a decision. It feels more like y'all needed enough clarity to understand what decision actually made sense for y'all. And then we land on the Lover's reverse, which is about misaligned values. So, okay. Now we know what some of that uncertainty was connected to. That uncertainty appears to involve a relationship or a connection where y'all are beginning to recognize that something simply does not align. And I don't think this is necessarily about somebody being perfect or imperfect. No. This is about their values, the way somebody operates, the way somebody handles themselves, or the way somebody interacts with other people even. Because I'm getting something about what y'all are observing that does not sit correctly with what y'all value. And I'm getting there may have been a period where y'all weren't quite ready to completely move away from this because something still felt unresolved. But eventually, enough becomes visible in the field for y'all to make a decision. I'm getting there had to have been some dishonesty around this connection for this Lovers to come out reversed. Maybe somebody isn't being completely honest with y'all. Maybe they aren't being honest with the people around them. Or maybe they aren't even being completely honest with themselves. But whatever y'all are seeing, it seems to give y'all the clarity that was missing under this judgment reverse. And I'm getting that ultimately, y'all let the cycle end. And I have to say that now this devotion reverse is starting to become interesting to me because this oracle card is telling us that emotional neglect may be straining relationships. And based on what we just walked through, I'm not convinced that neglect belongs to the collective. Y'all were just uncertain. And then y'all stayed present long enough to process what was happening. Y'all continued observing. And then y'all made a decision based on what became clear to y'all. Right? Now let's keep going. Because now we get into this second column, which is under this wholeness reverse. And the tarot is bringing us the Page of Cups, the Page of Wands reverse, the Magician, Page of Cups, romantic gestures. So, okay, this is how this connection started. Somebody introduced romantic energy. And I'm getting there was interest here. There was something substantial enough about this connection that it appears to have held real value. There was possible emotional fulfillment attached to this. And there was something that could have definitely been cultivated. So now we know this wasn't necessarily a connection that never had anywhere to go. There was something planted here with the collective. There was something worth seeing where it could lead. And then we move into the Page of Wands reversed. And this is about lacking self-confidence, being hasty, and an energy redirect. So I'm getting this is where something changes. The person attached to this Page of Cups, they get hasty. Instead of continuing in the direction they started with the collective, they now redirect the energy all together. And that's where this wholeness reverse starts making a little more sense to me. Because this says you may be seeking external validation. So it looks like, I don't know, outside factors may have started influencing what this person did with the connection. Maybe it was attention. Maybe it was other people. Maybe it was the environment. Whatever it was, we don't need to define exactly what the external validation looked like for every person this message is going to reach, because that external validation is going to be different for each one of you. But what I'm getting is that something outside of this connection appears to have mattered enough to affect how this person handled what was developing inside of it. And then we get the Magician. And this card is about influence and manipulation. So whatever happened during that redirection period, that mattered. Because whatever happened, it influenced what came next. And what could have developed into something more stable that doesn't appear to ever get there. The foundation seems to have become disrupted. And ultimately, something ends. So now I want to go back to this devotion reverse. Because emotional neglect doesn't necessarily mean somebody didn't care. And that's important. This person may very well have cared. Because the Page of Cups, that tells me there was romantic intention here. There was something here that this person wanted. But collective, caring about something and properly tending to it, those are not the same thing. And we know that, don't we? I'm getting something was started here. Then something was redirected. And whatever was initially being cultivated stopped receiving the attention that it required. So now we move into the final part of this message under this surrender reverse. And the tarot is driving it home with the Seven of Swords, the Knight of Cups reversed, and the Eight of Swords. So this Seven of Swords, not what it seems. I told you somebody wasn't being honest here. This is interesting because something in the environment surrounding this connection may not have been exactly what it appeared to be. I'm getting. There seems to have been an energy around this person that could have required, I don't know, maybe some boundaries, something that could have easily been addressed, something this person could have taken control of or at least clarified. But I'm getting that they did not. And I'm also getting that there appears to be some reflection around that now. They may be looking back at what was happening in the environment and recognizing what they allowed to continue wasn't necessarily what it seemed at the time. But again, I have to say this reflection that seems to remain largely internal. Because then we move to the Knight of Cups reverse. This is unrequited lover. So now we're seeing where the romantic energy has landed. A revoked offer. We started this connection with a Page of Cups, and now we're sitting in a Knight of Cups reverse. So I'm getting something that once had the potential for reciprocal romantic energy no longer appears to be reciprocal. And I'm getting there is real weight attached to that. This person may feel like something is unfinished. They may still be carrying what happened. But the fact that something feels unfinished to one person, well, that doesn't necessarily mean both people are still standing inside of it, right? Because we already saw the collective allow this cycle to end. And then the message ends on this Eight of Swords, which is about self-entrapment, negative thoughts. This is doom and gloom. So I'm getting this person, they are mentally trapped. And honestly, looking back over what we've seen, I can understand why. Because this is starting to look like a pretty massive fumble. This connection didn't begin with rejection. It began with romantic gestures. I'm getting there was something here that this person actually wanted. And then the energy, for some reason, was redirected. And outside influence appears to have mattered. Things in the environment weren't properly addressed. And the connection that started deteriorated. And now this other person is sitting in the mental consequences of how everything has unfolded. And collective, this is where surrender reverse finally comes in. Holding on too tightly may be causing resistance. So this is saying let go of control. And rather than going into operation, repair the sinking ship, this person appears to decide that they're going to release control of the situation altogether. This person decides to go live, to celebrate their life, and to have fun. This person decides to stop trying to control what happens next. And maybe, who knows, maybe that's what they need to do for themselves. But it also means that they aren't interjecting here. They aren't creating movement. They aren't removing obstacles that are sitting between these two people. So I'm getting the obstacles stay blocked. And the rejection that's here, that has to hold. And now that we've walked through this entire spread, I think there is a question worth asking here. Could all of this have been avoided? Maybe, because I don't see the collective operating from a particularly rigid position here. Y'all just started in uncertainty. Y'all had something unresolved. And y'all continued processing what y'all were seeing before reaching a conclusion. So I think there may have been room for this other person to address what was happening. Maybe the collective would have kept an open mind. Maybe y'all wouldn't have. We can't know what would have happened because, well, I'm not seeing that a conversation like that ever appears to have taken place. And I think that's the part that matters, because when somebody introduces something as vulnerable as a romantic gesture, that does carry some responsibility, because they're choosing to change the dynamic between two people. And if you then decide to redirect that connection, surely what comes next requires more communication than simply redirecting yourself and allowing all of that unaddressed energy to continue occupying the same space. So I'm getting strongly that this person didn't communicate. And eventually, that lack of communication, that made the collective reach their own conclusion. And that's why communication is such a vital component of a healthy relationship collective. Whether that relationship is a friendship or even something deeper. Because without natural communication, somebody is only going to hang around in uncertainty for so long before the other person's intentions start looking pretty obvious. I mean, if nobody is talking, if nobody is clarifying, and if nobody is addressing what is happening, eventually the behavior around it becomes the only information available. And I think that's exactly what happened to the collective here. Y'all had to make a decision based on what this person was actually showing y'all. And what the collective appears to have concluded is that this person would rather let go of control, go have fun, and remain sitting inside whatever mental anguish remains than to address what happened between the two of y'all. So I don't know, collective. I guess with that, I have to say, as above, so below. Because y'all can't communicate for another grown adult. Y'all can't repair something nobody is attempting to repair with y'all. And y'all can't keep an open mind indefinitely when no new information is ever being introduced. This devotion reverse showed us something meaningful that wasn't properly tended to. This wholeness reverse showed us the outside validation that influenced how this whole connection was handled. And then surrender reverse that showed us what this person ultimately decided to do when they were faced with the consequences. They chose to just let it go. But I want to say, letting go, that does not undo what happened. And it doesn't automatically reopen a door that closed while nobody was communicating with anybody. So I really don't think the collective, I don't think y'all had much else of a choice here. Y'all didn't have access to this person's internal thoughts. All y'all had access to was their behavior. And eventually, well, I hate to say it, but if nobody's communicating, if there are unanswered questions, then the behavior that is present, that has to become the answer. Right, collective? That's the message that I have for y'all today. So if this one landed, then let me know about it. If this one resonated, then I want to hear. And remember, where there is love, there is light. I'll see y'all again real soon.